Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. This tutorial is about toll-like receptor. Toll-like receptor signaling. The toll-like receptor, initially discovered in Drosophila, is an important receptor in dorsoventral embryonic pattern. Toll in German means great. Apparently, this was one of the words describing the scientist's enthusiasm after observing the mutant flies. Hoffman and colleagues showed that tall mutant flies susceptible to fungal infections. Mammalian homologs discovered and diagnosed as toll-like receptors. Toll-like receptor recognizes specific patterns in pathogens which are not observed in mammals. So introduction, toll-like receptor in insects, mammals, and plants are key players that sense the invasion of the pathogens. Toll-like receptors in mammals have been established to detect the specific component of bacterial pathogen. Toll-like receptor is part of the innate immune system and facilitates recognition of pathogens to help recognition of pathogen recognition regions. Its presence on sentinel cells like macrophage and dendritic cells and immune cells like human choroidal melanocytes. Toll-like receptor recognize certain pathogen-associated molecular pattern presence on microorganisms when the ligands bind to the receptor to activate certain cytokines. And here is the structure and function of toll-like receptor. Toll-like receptor family now consists of 10 members from 1 to 10. The cytoplasmic portion of toll-like receptors show high similarity to that of interleukin receptor family, interleukin 1 receptor family, and is now called toll-like receptor interleukin 1 receptor domain. And here the structure of toll-like receptor. This is the extracellular region and the transmembrane and the intracytoplasmic part. And toll-like receptors have many types. Toll-like receptor 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 9, and we have many types of toll-like receptors. And here the electron microscope of the E. coli and how we recognize the pathogen by the toll-like receptors. And here the O antigen and the core and the lipid A of the pathogen. And the toll-like receptor ligands, various ligands can bind to toll-like receptor and activate signaling pathway. These ligands are parts of the pathogen microbes. They are part of superfamily with 10 types of toll-like receptors, and the ligands that bind can be lipopolysaccharide, peptidoglycans, and double-stranded RNA, and etc. Lipopolysaccharides, large molecules found in outer membrane of the gram. What's lipopolysaccharides that bind to toll-like receptor? Lipopolysaccharide, large molecular found in outer membrane of gram-negative bacteria, composed of lipid and saccharide component, highly immunogenic, recognized by toll-like receptor 4, and can cause septic shock and lead to death, and often referred to as endotoxin since it's not secreted, but it is byproduct of bacterial lysis. Great variability among different bacterial strains. And here the cell membrane, and this is bacterial parasite and bind to toll-like receptor 1, 2, and gram-positive bacteria to toll-like receptor 2, 6, and other flagellated bacteria bind to toll-like receptor 5, and etc. Viral nucleic acid to bind to toll-like receptor 3, 7, 8 detect viral nucleic acid, and found in intracellular membranes since viral nucleic acids are endogenously generated. Note that toll-like receptor domains of this toll-like receptor face the cytosol of the cell, and polyinositol cysteine is an agonist for the toll-like receptor 3 that mimics binding of double-stranded RNA to toll-like receptor 3. Here the toll-like receptors and the toll anti are dominant. This is the toll-like receptor and this is the cytoplasmic TIR dominant. And cytoplasmic cells of toll-like receptor show similarity to interleukin receptor 1 TIR, which is this is interleukin receptor 1. Uncommon adapters to toll-like receptor is MYD88, a crucial proline residue in all toll-like receptor domain except toll-like receptor 3, and all toll-like receptor likely have MYD88 pathway. Toll-like receptor 3 is an exception. This is the pathway of the signaling of the toll-like receptor. This is the MYD88. We have the toll-like receptor. Toll-like receptor exerts its function. Toll-like receptor types. We have 1, 2, 6 recognized lipoteichoic acid from the gram-positive organism and lipo-arabinomannan from the mycobacterium. Toll-like receptor 2 is specific recognized lipopolysaccharides. Macrophage from toll-like receptor 6 deficient mice did not produce CD36 on its surface. Toll-like receptor 1 deficient mice reacted with diacyl but not triacyl lipopeptide. Toll-like receptor 3 recognized double-stranded DNA produced during viral replication, and type 1 interferon is produced. Toll-like receptor 4 is the lipopolysaccharide receptor and transduce its signals. Lipopolysaccharide LDP complex is formed and is associated with CD14 on the macrophage. Toll-like receptor 5 flagellin inflagellated bacteria act as ligand to activate toll-like receptor 5. Here the types of the toll-like receptor and the component of the pathogen that bind to it. And toll-like receptor 7 is used in the treatment of infectious disease and is act as antiviral imidazoquinolones that's against the human papilloma virus. Toll-like receptor 9, it helps in the recognition of the cpgDNA that recognize endosome after non-specific uptake into the cell. Toll-like receptor 10, it has anti-inflammatory reaction. Unlike other toll-like receptor, it is very helpful in suppressing cytokines. Toll-like receptor 11 is present on the monocyte, macrophage, and dendritic cells. When the infection of Toxoplasma gondii occurs, profilin from it acts as a ligand for the toll-like receptor 11 to activate dendritic cells and induce T cell production. Toll-like receptor activities. Toll-like receptor against variety of disease like toll-like receptor 3 against lymphatic simplex encephalitis, toll-like receptor 2 in the leprosy, Lyme disease, tuberculosis, colorectal cancer, toll-like receptor 5 Legionnaire's disease and resistance to SLE, systemic lupus erythematosus. Toll-like receptor 7, anti-tumor and antiviral properties. Future toll-like receptor prospects. Toll-like receptor agonist as vaccine adjuvant. Toll-like receptor used in antiviral therapy, used to treat neurotoxic infection, used to treat atherosclerosis, used to treat Parkinsonism, Alzheimer's disease, multiple sclerosis, and many more neurodegenerative disease. And thank you.